Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Alfonso Speaks and welcome back to Darrell Brooks content. I took such a long break away from Darrell Brooks content because I wanted to do something else and I wanted to explore other avenues outside of just this channel, mind you. Just in, I don't want to say real life, but outside of the realm of YouTube. Got a chance to do all of that, but ultimately in my free time, I kept coming back to watching Darrell Brooks content. It's like I can't stay away from it. So I figured I might as well go back to enjoying it with you guys. Before we get started today, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe for more great content just like this. If you haven't noticed, we've been doing some more political style content as well. And I think eventually, sooner rather than later, I'm going to be getting into some more sports content as well. I know I did a video on the Commanders and their new stadium and everything going on with that. But it's time for us to get into more stuff like that. But it's also time for us to go back to our roots here on Alfonso Speaks, which constitutes Darrell Brooks videos. You guys know what time it is. This is what we do here on Alfonso Speaks. We watch Darrell Brooks, we dissect Darrell Brooks, and we try to find the Darrell Brooks that are around us and try to intervene before their behavior gets to the point where they mow down dozens of people with a vehicle. So this is the infamous yellow shirt day. You guys are very familiar with this one. It's a 24-minute video of Darrell Brooks just complaining about his rights being trampled on. Let's take a look at what happened here today in this video. Again, like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Oh yeah, and as you guys can see, way down below there, follow me on Instagram and follow me on TikTok for more great content as well. Let's do this, guys. Let's get it.
Because I'm not going to do this with you. I'm not.
Mr. Brooks, I do want to go over
We don't have.
jury instructions.
I don't understand the
verdicts.
jury instructions. I don't understand anything that's in these proceedings, and I'm not going to participate in something that I don't understand.
That's your choice, sir.
May I please go back into the other courtroom?
You can, based upon your choice and your request, I'll make a finding that he's forfeiting his right to be present in this
I didn't forfeit
courtroom.
anything. I asked.
I understand you've
So I
asked,
didn't-
but
I
I
didn't
feel it's
forfeit
important to
anything.
also make a finding based upon your conduct.
But based upon what kind of me asking?
Are you willing to expressly waive that right on the record right now?
I'm not going to expressively waive anything.
Are you willing to
I'm making
engage in a colloquy regarding your right to be present
I
and
do
a
not.
knowing and
That man don't know what colloquy means. Anyway, so if you guys aren't familiar with this Darrell Brooks trial, Waukesha Parade killer murdered 5 people, injured dozens more with his vehicle in the Waukesha Christmas Parade of 2021. He is more infamous for, honestly, the way he handled himself in court than he is for the actual crime he committed in a lot of people's eyes. This was a constant thing with him throughout the trial, going in and out of the courtroom because he couldn't get his behavior together. He could not sit there and follow the rules of decorum, and he didn't want to anyway because he was trying to get a mistrial, and this was all part of his strategy because he knew he had no case. You had hundreds of spectators that all saw you. Maybe not even hundreds, maybe like thousands. I don't know how many people were there, but you had a bunch of witnesses, you had camera angles, like, so you had everything that was plain as day. Like, you might as well have tattooed on your forehead, "I did it," with all that evidence. So his only way of getting out of this potentially was to try to cause a mistrial by getting on the judge's nerves and the prosecution's nerves. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. But this is him getting more and more frustrated, more and more frustrated, more and more frustrated as the trial keeps going along. He knows he's getting to the end. He knows he's getting to that point where he's about to go to prison, which is a very different experience from jail, which he has been sitting in at this point for a year. Uh, it's a very, very, very different experience, and prison is much, much worse. He knows that. He doesn't want to go there. He wants to go home, but he's not going home. So I think his strategy was, hey, let's try to cause as many mistrials as possible so I can just stay in this jail here in Waukesha forever instead of going to state prison and never seeing anybody that I love ever again. Um, but another spoiler alert, he's in state prison, but he's not in Wisconsin because he was too famous. I think there was an altercation. He got beat up. He ended up getting moved to South Dakota. That's where he is right now, South Dakota State Penitentiary. We do have a P.O. box address. If you guys want that, I will drop it in the next video, but you got to leave likes on this one. Okay. So leave likes on this video. I'll drop the P.O. box number for Darrell Brooks so you guys can send him whatever mail you want to. Obviously, don't try to send anything dangerous. Just send words. Those are enough. But let's get back to the video.
Intelligent and voluntary waiver of that right?
I am not going to consent to anything that I don't understand, and I will not answer any questions that I don't understand. I'm merely making a request to not be present in these proceedings.
And to be in the other courtroom.
Again, as I've stated numerous times now for the record, I will not answer or comply with anything I do not understand. I'm not making a voluntary waiver of anything.
Are you willing to be, let me rephrase that. If I have you stay in this courtroom, are you willing to follow the rules of decorum and courtesy?
I do not understand the question you are asking.
Are you willing to not interrupt the proceedings with disruptive behavior?
I do not understand the questions that you are asking.
Well, given that he won't answer the questions directly, for now he is to remain in this courtroom.
I'm requesting to not be in this courtroom.
But you won't answer my questions regarding that, sir.
I did. I told you I don't understand.
That's not answering the question, sir.
You asked me a question, I answered it. I don't understand. How can I answer something that I do not understand, Your Honor?
All right, let me start with the jury instruction.
You gonna start with
to.
subject matter jurisdiction?
No, I've declined that already, sir. I'm not going to address
Under
that
what
further.
law? Under what lawful law?
Sir, please do not interrupt me again with the topic of subject matter jurisdiction, or you run the risk of forfeiting your right to be present in this courtroom.
Now, of course, the old subject matter jurisdiction argument that he kept trying to bring up and trying to instill in his arguments has no basis in court or law. And it's something that he kept doing, again, to try to cause a mistrial. Whether because he thought he had some legal standing with it, or he thought if he said it enough, it would really get under the judge's skin and cause her to blow up at him. You know, it took her a little bit longer than people would have liked, but she caught on to what he was doing. And she handled the trial a little bit differently than you would expect a judge to handle it. Now again, a lot of you aren't new to this channel or this trial. You understand who Darrell Brooks is, you know who Judge Darrell is, but just for the ones who don't know, just the Cliff Notes version of this, Judge Darrell was the presiding judge over this case, as you can obviously see. She kept running into issues with Darrell Brooks because Darrell was trying his best to get under her skin from start to finish. And eventually she caught on and realized he's trying to cause a mistrial here. So what she started to do was give him 1,000,001 chances at everything. And the reason why she was doing that was because she did not want there to be any chance on appeal that this conviction could be overturned. And she was smart to do it. Was it painful to get through? Yes. Was the trial extremely long to get through because of his behavior? Yes. But the length of the trial is nothing compared to his sentence that he got. Okay, so as long as he made this trial, I think the trial went almost a month. I know it went over 3 weeks. Um, you know, that's nothing compared to the years and years and years that he got. 6 life sentences plus 1,000 years. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, he played himself from the moment he got in that car on November 21st, left his mother's house to head toward Waukesha to confront Erica Patterson, he played himself from start to finish. And that's just the fact of the matter. So show some patience with Judge Darrell, um, as we've watched these trial clips over and over and over again. Still watch them to this day. I mean, it's addicting. It's addicting watching somebody digging their own grave like this.
And let me go in the other courtroom then.
Are you willing to engage in a discussion about that, sir? I need to make an appropriate record.
I just told you that I don't understand the questions you're asking. What do you want me to do? I can't answer something I don't understand.
I believe you're choosing not to answer them,
You can
sir.
believe what you want to believe. I believe that you hiding stuff from the jury. I believe you haven't been impartial or fair. You haven't let me even enter anything into evidence, which is my right to do so.
False. And also funny that he's mentioning his rights, even though from the beginning, he claimed to be a sovereign citizen. If you're not familiar with the sovereign citizen movement, it's people who don't feel that they're under the jurisdiction of the United States Constitution. Yet, continuously throughout this trial, he brought up his constitutional rights. So make that make sense. You can't, because they're polar opposites. They're completely different things. You can't have one with the other. But in typical Darrell Brooks fashion, when it suited him, he was a sovereign citizen. When it didn't suit him, he had constitutional rights. So,
Your
But it
rights
doesn't
are not
matter what we
unfettered,
believe,
sir.
Your Honor. I'm merely stating a request to not be present for these proceedings. I cannot answer the
Sir,
questions you are asking me
it
because I
seems to
don't
me
understand them.
You understand your right to be present in the courtroom. Are you telling me you
I don't understand
that right?
anything. Nope, I don't understand. Nope.
Then you're going to stay here for now.
And under what lawful law? You can't force me to stay somewhere that I'm making a request not to. You can't make me understand. You can't force me to understand what I don't understand. You can't force that.
I need to address one of the jury instructions, number 315.
So, Your Honor, I'm trying to make a request to not be present in these matters without disrupting the courtroom, as you say that I do, and over talking you, as you state that I do. I'm making a request merely to not be present for these proceedings. Obviously, I'm not needed because every decision that's been made here today has been made without my consent. That's clearly telling me that I'm not needed. I have never consented to anything that's going on here today. I haven't even been allowed to present any evidence, which is something that I stated weeks ago. Weeks. You already knew, Your Honor, that I wanted things to present into evidence. I've asked numerous times for that and have been denied. And I don't understand why I'm not being able to adequately defend myself.
In your words, you're not being allowed to adequately defend yourself based upon your conduct in this courtroom and throughout these proceedings, and your unwillingness to follow the simple rules of decorum, courtesy, procedure, rules of evidence. You refused to answer a variety of questions this morning when this court went through or attempted to go through the colloquy with you regarding your right to testify and your right not to testify. And because of that, and based on the case law that I cited this morning, I made a finding that you forfeited your right to present further testimony and evidence through other witnesses, and then you forfeited your right to testify in your behalf. I'm not going to revisit those, sir.
I'm not asking you to revisit them, but I'm just they weren't correct.
I understand you will
Because
disagree
I
with
never
that.
consented to it and I never answered something.
I understand
And
you
I
did
just
not
stated
consent
the
to
reason
that.
why I didn't answer, because I don't understand. You cannot force me to understand what you're asking me.
Sir, I could not even get through the advisement. You wouldn't even listen. You talked over me repeatedly.
Was that from the other courtroom or in here? Because I've been over there all morning.
To the place that you are requesting to go back to, right?
You sent me into the other courtroom.
You're right, I did.
Right. So I've been over there all morning.
With an adequate audio and visual system
I mean,
connecting the two courtrooms.
Your
The functional equivalent
to
of being
your
present in this
equivalent to
courtroom.
your equivalent is adequate, but to mine it's not. Seeing as how you always state Illinois versus Allen. You always state that. You always state that. But it never refers to a fourth option that you refer to. It never
Mr.
refers
Brooks, I'm not
to
going to
that.
debate this with you. If you continue to bring up subject matter jurisdiction, Illinois
I
versus
didn't bring up
Allen,
subject
the
matter
decisions that I
jurisdiction.
made earlier,
I'm trying to figure out
then
why I'm being
you
held in
are
contempt.
frustrating the purposes of this
I'm
hearing
trying to
right
figure out
now,
why I'm being held
which
in
is to
contempt.
finalize the
And
jury
then when
instruction and the verdict form.
Honestly, and you heard it right there. What this is for. All the evidence has been presented. The prosecution rested their case. Darrell never rested his case, but he forfeited his right to call any more witnesses because of how he was acting. And now, what this whole conversation is supposed to be about is getting everything ready for the jury to make their decision. He doesn't like that. He's delaying that, right? So you see his behavior is getting more and more erratic the closer they get to the ending of the trial, the closer they get to the jury decision. He's acting more and more erratic. Darrell, man, what can I even say about this guy? Again, he contradicts himself very, very often. Like everything is a contradiction. And that gets pointed out a lot during this trial, but the biggest one really is that sovereign citizen theory. First of all, I don't even know where it came from. I have no idea what the roots of that even are, why anyone thought it had any standing in a courtroom. It's just something that I don't understand. Um, but for some reason, he thought that would work for him in this case. Like he really did. No, there was something else I wanted to say. I'm going to rewind and see if it comes back to me.
The decisions that I made earlier,
I'm trying to figure out why I'm
then
being
you
held in
are
contempt.
frustrating the purposes of this
I'm
hearing
trying to
right
figure out why
now,
I'm being held
which
in
is to
contempt.
finalize the
And
jury
then when
instruction and the verdict forms.
Your Honor, I'm merely trying to understand why when you hold me in contempt,
I never held you in contempt, sir.
you attempted to.
Nope.
You've never attempted to hold me in contempt.
No, sir. I'm not going to revisit all of these issues.
When I asked you where you hold
Are
me in
you
contempt,
going
you
to
said civil.
respect the decisions that I've made
They're
by
not
not interrupting
they're
me?
not correct decisions, Your Honor.
I understand that.
I can't answer. You asked me questions. You asked me questions. I didn't answer them based on my understanding. How can you force me to understand what you're asking me if I don't? And then you still make a finding based on that. How is that lawful law?
Mr. Brooks, I stand behind the record that I've made today.
And that's fine. I'm not
advising you
arguing
that
with
if
you
you
about what
continue
you rude.
to talk
I'm saying
over
how
me,
can you do that without my
if
consent?
you continue to raise issues.
You know what I've always wondered is, like, I've watched a lot of content creators that made Darrell Brooks content, and the question that I've always had for anybody is, there's been this big conversation about, man, he shouldn't have represented himself. He shouldn't have represented himself. He got himself 1,000 years. Yes, he did get himself 1,000 years. But a couple of things. Number one, let's say he did get a lawyer, and the lawyer was able to get him 70 years in prison for this. He's already 40. It's still a life sentence. He's not a vampire, so he's not going to live 1,000 years and spend it behind bars. He got 1,000-year sentence, yes, but odds are he maybe, if he's lucky, has 30 years left in his life. If he's lucky. I just, from a legal perspective, if there's any lawyers who watch these channels or people with legal experience, legal knowledge, what do you guys actually think a lawyer could have done for Darrell Brooks in this situation? Because I don't really think they could have done that much. People keep saying, like, this was a dumb decision for him to represent himself. I think it was the best decision that he could have made. because no lawyer was going to get him out of this. Really, the only way he could have got out of this was by causing a mistrial, which that was his only strategy. I mean, the evidence was overwhelming. There's no way he was going to get out without at least 6 life sentences for the victims that he actually killed. And then, not to mention all of the other injuries that he caused, like he was getting life in prison no matter how you slice it. Even if it's even if it's not a life sentence on paper, right? It's still going to be a life sentence. I believe a plea deal was offered, and it was 70 years in prison, if I remember correctly. He's not going to live to 110. He's just not. So I do think, just a little debate within the grand scope of things. It doesn't really matter that much, but I am interested to know what you guys think a lawyer could have done for him at all, because I'm just not understanding. I'm not seeing it. It's not clicking in my head what you guys think would have happened if he would have had a lawyer. The same thing would have happened. This was actually his best strategy. Let me go in there and just piss everybody off and get somebody to do something dumb and get this thing thrown out.
That's a violation of my civil rights.
If you continue to raise these issues, sir, and thwart the purpose of this court, which is to finalize the jury instruction and the verdict forms, you will forfeit your right to be present in the courtroom, and you will appear from the other courtroom.
Okay.
Absent you, I know you've requested to be there.
I made a request the moment we walked in here to not be present for these proceedings, but yet
But you
still.
also won't have a dialogue with me about your understanding
because
of what that means.
it's my Fifth Amendment right. I'm exercising my rights that I reserved from the moment we walked in here this morning. You can't force that. You can't force me to do anything, actually.
No, you're right, but I can make certain findings that you forfeit rights that you have based upon your
based
conduct.
on what lawful law, Your Honor?
I've cited the law this morning. All right, I am moving
Illinois
on.
versus Allen, right?
I am moving
That I can
on.
be present from another courtroom.
I need
if I
to
forfeit
discuss
my right-
instruction 315.
Your Honor,
because
I don't
believe some
understand.
language needs to be modified based upon the court's earlier ruling today.
I don't understand. I don't understand the proceedings. And I think that should be stated for the record. If I'm telling you repeatedly, Your Honor, that I don't understand. You can't force me to understand. That's a violation of my constitutional rights to try to force something upon me. That's coercion, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, I completely disagree with your characterization of the proceedings this morning.
I don't even think he understands some of these words that he's even saying. Like, if you asked him to define coercion, I doubt he could give you an actual definition of that word.
While it is true that you did not provide consent, you were entirely uncooperative with court this morning.
That's because I didn't understand. I'm explaining why, Your Honor. I'm not trying to leave it where it was at. I'm attempting to
answer the questions.
I'm attempting to
I'm going to go
explain myself of why I did not answer. It was because the way that you're making it seem is that I intentionally didn't want to answer, and that's
Mr.
not
Brooks,
fair.
I'm moving on to instruction 315.
And I still don't understand. So how can we even proceed?
Mr. Brooks,
if I'm telling you I don't
understand what that I'm asking you to be
No,
quiet?
I don't. No, I don't.
Mr. Brooks, please stop interrupting
And for the
me.
record, I don't consent to being called that name, Your
You
Honor.
clearly hear me, sir, because if you didn't hear me, then you wouldn't make that statement. So I
Hearing
know
and
you can hear
understanding
me.
is two different things.
I know you can hear me, sir. I'm asking
Hearing
you
and
to
understanding
stop
is two different
interrupting
things.
me.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but you're gonna, at some point, you're gonna ask me my opinion of what's going on, and then when I tell you I don't understand, it's gonna be taken as me trying to delay or trying
If
to do
you
this or
stop
trying to do
talking,
that.
I will explain why I'm bringing up instruction 315.
And I'm not gonna understand your explanation.
Well, you can't say that if you haven't heard what I have to say.
Didn't you try to do this earlier, before lunch?
But I need to clarify something, because 315, which is the instruction that has it's titled Defendant Elects Not to Testify. I had it in there. However, That instruction should really only be given if requested by the defendant. There has been no request made. And obviously this court made a finding that he forfeited his right to testify.
Boom. Okay, so just an explanation of what's going on here for those of you who are new, who didn't watch this part before. Basically, because of his behavior, like I said, he forfeited his right to testify because he kept acting like this, basically. What she's trying to do is determine whether in the jury instructions, because anytime the jury is to do anything involving the trial, they are given a jury instruction for it with clear instructions on how they are to complete the process. In this case, what she is saying is that in the jury instruction, she has included something that says you are not to hold the fact that Darrell Brooks didn't testify against him. You can only use the evidence that has been presented, which is how it's supposed to be. You see all the time people don't testify. Diddy most recently did not testify in his trial. It can't be held against you. It's a choice that the defendant gets to make. You cannot hold it against them. You have to just analyze the evidence that has been presented and make a decision based off of that. What she is saying is that, well, the defendant did not request this, so I'm thinking of taking it out. Unless you want to specifically request this right now, Darrell is going to keep going on and saying, I don't understand, because he doesn't want to request it or not request it. He just wants this trial to stop, to cease, to not exist anymore.
And absent Mr. Brooks requesting that instruction to be in, I believe it would not be proper for this court to include 315 in the instructions to the jury. Does the state have any position on that?
Your Honor, I did look at the notes that are associated with instruction 315, and I would agree.
All right. Mr. Brooks, do you have any position on whether this court should include instruction 315 in the jury instructions to the jury?
I don't even understand what 315 jury instruction is.
It's entitled Defendant Elects Not to Testify. I'll read it for you. It's my notes, meaning my materials, my jury instruction book says to be given only if requested by a defendant, and it reads as follows. This is the actual language of the instruction. A defendant in a criminal case has the absolute constitutional right not to testify. The defendant's decision not to testify must not be considered by you in any way and must not influence your verdict in any manner. So my question is, do you want this instruction read or modified in any way?
You just said I got a constitutional right not to testify or to testify. I didn't make either one of those decisions, so I don't understand.
The jury instruction.
So now he's arguing that it was never his choice not to testify, but she already knows that. So we don't even need to watch the rest of this. I can just explain to you what happened. She's basically going back and forth with him because she's trying to make sure that the record is clear. And she's like, hey, you forfeited your right to testify through your conduct. And he's like, I never forfeited anything. I never did it. You know, this is what he does. So a lot of the trial went just like this. And a lot of the trial was a lot of back and forth. Judge Darrell making sure I's were dotted, T's were crossed, and that no appeal has any standing. Darrell Brooks, as of this recording, is still working on his appeal, and he's on his 10th delay. He just got it delayed again to get more time. So I think they gave him until the end of October. He doesn't have any standing, any grounds, as he likes to say, for an appeal. He just doesn't have anything. There's nothing of substance that he could possibly use. So he is going to be in prison for the rest of his life, thanks to this amazing prosecution team, thanks to this great judge, and quite frankly, thanks to his evil actions on November 21st of 2021. For more great content, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, follow me down below, Instagram, TikTok, at Alfonso McCree Jr. or at Alfonso Speaks, respectively. And I'll be coming back to you guys with more videos just like this on a plethora of topics, including Darrell Brooks. In the meantime, stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.